Hello. My hair looks weird because I've been laying down. I recorded this morning actually. Sorry, I'm so close to the camera. Trying to put on my other lights. Um, I recorded this morning after a meeting in my internship. I was doing birthday reflections because my birthday was yesterday. It has not been the best day. I've been really tired today and I don't know why. Oh, the whole day. I got nothing done today. Um, I didn't have class today. Professor is out of town for a conference, so we didn't have class. Um, so I stayed home. I went out with a friend. Um, we have been in this weird place in our relationship for months, and we went out to continue a conversation that we've been having about our friendship. It was silent most of the time, primarily because I didn't have anything to say. Um, yeah, came back home, and again, I was still very exhausted. I think I'm exhausted because of my period. I think. Um, yeah, so I just been in my bed, took a nap. I'm also really sad because I'm feeling very alone. I don't know if I've recorded any videos about this. I tend to talk more about my mental health. Even though feeling alone is a big part of ooh, sorry. Feeling alone is a big part of how my mental health has progressed since graduation. Um, I don't know, I guess because that's more personal. I haven't come on here to record. Even though I could literally keep all of these videos private, but I record with the potential intention of making these things public. So I try to talk about things that are difficult, like my mental health journey has been difficult, but it doesn't touch my heart as much as the feelings of loneliness. Also because this whole loneliness thing involves other people in my life. So I haven't been talking about that as much. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm just talking about my day. But yeah, just feeling very alone, and it makes me sad because I love people, I love relationships, I love community, and sorry, those are messages that are coming in. But I love relationships, I love community, and yeah, it's just been hard. It's been hard. Relationships, community, intimacy. I love intimacy. I love transparency. I love vulnerability. I love doing life, like genuinely doing life with people and exposing ourselves and bleeding and healing and growing and loving and all that stuff. And it's just been hard to genuinely feel like that since being back home. So, I was really sad about that, and that's one reason why I've stayed in bed, even though I have things to do. It makes me feel bad about myself because I'm like, oh, I'm lazy. I don't know how to manage my emotions and get done the things that I need to get done. Just yeah, my thoughts around this stuff used to be really negative in 2024. So I'm really happy that it's not that negative, but they still come up I'm not acting in the way that I should be acting for the type of person I'm trying to be. But it's also hard when I barely have an identity right now. So yeah, it's 8:30. The day's not over yet. So we'll see. But why did I come on here? I came on here because I am trying to be more intentional about making public content. So I've been recording videos since November. I've just watched a few of them and I'm I've been really consistent. And it hasn't been an intentional thing to be consistent. It's just I have found myself since I decided that I was going to record, I found myself just wanting to record about every week since November. I think I average about like 5 to 7 videos a month, so that's even more frequently than once a week. Um, and I've been telling myself for about a month that I need to make these videos public, and I haven't because they're personal. Like I know I was saying, like my mental health stuff is not as personal as like the feeling alone stuff, and it's not, but like it's still very personal. And personal in the sense that like I don't know if anybody's going to like relate with me talking about how I feel dissociated today and I cut half of my hair, or like um how I don't feel like myself. Like that just doesn't feel like things people would click on or that would be valuable to them or interested in. So I haven't been making those videos public or sharing it anywhere. And I'm trying to think of content that would be more directly valuable to people. But maybe I shouldn't think of that like that. Maybe I should just record and post. But I think it'll also help me in terms of like, okay, being a bit more intentional with the types of videos I record because there's a lot that I have to share. That's not just like reflections on where I'm at right now. And I think doing that can help me get my confidence and my self assurance back. So the thing I want to talk about right now is being in a PhD program. Um, I never thought this would happen genuinely. I did not know any, maybe I did and I just wasn't conscious of it. But growing up, I wasn't aware of people who did PhDs who were academics. It's just not a thing in the community that I grew up in. And even going to Duke, like, I didn't realize people were doing this until like the end of my junior year when like the people that were a year above me were saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to this PhD program like MIT. I'm going to this PhD program in Harvard." I'm like people do this like for real. Like this is a thing, and like I didn't want to do it because I don't like school. Yeah, I do a lot better when learning on my own than like the education system. I have not liked school since ninth grade. But yeah, it was never something that I ever thought about. The only reason I thought about it was because of my dad. My dad has been saying ever since I was a kid that I should go to the highest levels of education and I should think about getting a PhD. I never took him seriously because I was like, I'm not the type of person that does that. Not because I didn't want to do it, just because I didn't have any examples. I didn't have anybody to look up to that was doing that type of stuff. I didn't think it was a thing that people like me actually did. It just felt so like far removed from my reality. Um, and in college, I was much more focused on entrepreneurship and business, which I'm not right now because of my mental health, but it's still something that I'm very passionate about. And my research is probably going to be aligned in that direction one way or another. So how did I end up in a PhD program? Um, my so my dad, again, he had been saying through college as well, like PhD, get a PhD. I was like, it's not happening. I'm done with school. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll consider getting in like an MBA because it's still business. It's still aligned with like my interests, and I'm still getting higher education. So I was considering an MBA. I was talking to people about it. Yeah, like an MBA is mostly like for people who want to work in like corporate settings or want to be in executive roles. And genuinely, you can learn a lot more by um, just starting the business and going ahead. And then along the way, maybe getting an MBA if you need more specific information. But I also learned a lot in my undergrad entrepreneurship program. Um, yeah, I learned a lot in my undergrad program. I learned a lot from my dad. I think a lot. So I was coming up with like my own theories and understanding about doing entrepreneurship as I was starting it. And I was like, I don't know how beneficial the MBA would be for education. It would be really beneficial for networking. Always, school is primarily a networking thing, but I was like, it would be really beneficial for networking. But I don't know how much information or yeah I was gonna get from doing it. Then my dad was like, if you're not gonna do the PhD, in economics think about doing a master's in economics. I was like, okay, I was thinking about it. So then it was like between a master's in economics and an MBA. So it was always like a master's program. My senior year, I went with my African organization to a conference at Yale, hosted by this girl. Her name is Abby. The conference is called the Yale African Innovation Symposium, and she started it while we were in undergrad. She's a year younger than me, I think. Either we're the same age or she's a year younger. And she started it my junior year, but I didn't go my junior year. I went my senior year, and I didn't even want to go. I only went because like all my friends were going. It was the second. It was the second year that she was doing it. So the first year, I think five people from the African organization went. Then senior year, they got enough money for 20 of us to go, and most of my friends were going. So I wasn't going because I was interested. I went to hang out with my friends, genuinely. Um, in undergrad, I really wasn't thinking a lot about like, which is crazy because I went to Duke. I probably missed like so many opportunities by not thinking about like networking and like career stuff and like professional organizations because I was really focused on entrepreneurship, and I didn't really get connected with the entrepreneurial program until until my junior year. And I was doing that stuff like junior and senior year. Um, so yeah, I just really wasn't interested in like all of these other professional stuff. So I went to hang out with my friends and to just have this experience with them, and it was genuinely like life changing. Like a lot of people will say like events are or like say that events are going to be life changing. I don't have very many of those. This symposium was one of them. Like it genuinely has changed the trajectory of my entire life, and my career. And yeah, I should probably reflect more and write more about it because it was genuinely life changing. So basically, the symposium was bringing together a bunch of undergrads, a bunch of African undergrads together to talk about um, innovation on the continent. And I like the word I like the fact that she used innovation and not development. I'm trying to figure out a word that feels good for me to use that's not development because development has certain connotations, but basically just talk about different issues on the continent and like literally coming up with like talking to people, having discussions, being assigned projects, coming up with solutions, like very hands on, and we were being like mentored and taught by people who were actively doing this work. Like I remember one of the sessions that I went to was investing, and I went to all the ones of investing, business, entrepreneurship, of course. I need to go back, honestly. Like it, it's a great place to meet people and to just get like exposure. But I went to one of the investing ones, and the host for that one, she has founded her own, I think, venture capital firm, and basically is trying to get rich white people in America to consider the continent as like a viable investment. And so like she was talking about that, and then I went to another one that was like entrepreneurship, and like coming up with like just like solutions. It was really cool. Other ones they had were like media, health. Um, I don't remember the rest of them. It was 2 years ago at this point, but yeah, I went and it was like it completely changed my perspective on my career and being an African in the diaspora. I think the opening speech was talking about like the younger generation and like having passion, and we are the future of Africa. And I had like I've always been very proud of my heritage and very like connected to it. I've wanted to learn Igbo my entire life. I remember being 5 years old and like whenever my dad would drive me to like preschool, we would be practicing the Igbo numbers in the car. Like we have this like FedEx, I don't know what they call it, distribution center. That's like right by my house. So sometimes like we have to pass by the FedEx to get to like my preschool. And so we would count the number of FedEx trucks that we would see coming by in Igbo. And I discovered like Afro beats in middle school, and it was like my top genre through like middle school and high school. I did African dance throughout college. Yeah, I've just always loved like my culture. And but my engagement was always only on a cultural level. It was always like being, especially being in the diaspora, it was always food, music, clothes, um, language, kind of, sort of, because my parents weren't actively teaching me. But yeah, just very like, I'm not going to say surface level, I'm going to say a cultural level of engagement. And I never thought about like, I never considered the fact that I could engage with my culture on a professional level until I went to that conference. Like, it was never a thought that crossed my mind until I went to that conference. And I, like, because of that, I became very passionate about development on the continent. Now the continent is, it's huge. Okay, it's 54 different countries, 5 major regions. Like, there are so many different cultures within one country, political, colonial political history of Africa, all of these other things. Um, but we are united under the fact of our shared political history of colonization and imperialism. So that's sad to say, but that's genuinely like what unites us as Africans. From my perspective, other people have different perspectives, but that's my understanding of it. But for me, I'm like trying to focus more on like where can I have like direct impact that is related to my culture. So I'm not just African, I'm West African. I'm not just West African, I'm Nigerian, and I'm not just Nigerian, I'm Igbo. So a lot of my work I don't know what the future is going to hold. A lot of my work is probably going to be focused on like Igbo communities. Um, yeah. Okay, where was I going with this? Yeah, so I didn't know like I could do that. I didn't know that was an option. I was very America focused because this is where I've grown up. This is all that I've known. When we talk career and stuff, it's always America. Your parents come here and they're focused on making it here in America. They don't really think that much about Africa. And then I started realizing that my dad has actually been like involved in this stuff for a really long time. Um, and that's kind of like his passion as well, is to develop and to empower like our people back home. So, okay, where was I going with this? So it became a passion of mine. I was like, I want to align everything I do towards this goal of like African empowerment, not just economically, but also like culturally and politically on the world stage. I want Africans to be proud of who they are, not who they have been told they are, and not like the distorted cultures we received as a result of colonialism and imperialism. It's very deep, like it's very deep. Um, but I want to be proud of like who we are, what our cultures were before colonization, like on their own, and how we can like bring that into the modern world with the history that we can't separate ourselves from, with like colonialism and imperialism. The stories that we tell ourselves, the way that we do like politics and economics and business and things like that. Like, I want to uncover what those things were and kind of bring that to the forefront, in how we talk about development. And yeah, so that's what happened my senior spring. I graduate 2 days after graduation. I'm sitting in my bed at home, this bed that I'm in right now. And I'm thinking about the things that I like to do. I'm like, I like to think, I like to write, I like to talk about ideas and share them. And I was like, how can I get paid to do that? I was like, a PhD program would pay me. Being an academic would pay me to do that. And it was the first time I ever thought that, like, no, it wasn't. Actually, my senior year, my junior spring and my senior fall, there were 2 classes that I took that I had to write papers for. And I loved the process of researching and writing the papers for something that I was really interested in. and I wrote a lot. Like I was way over the page limit for both of them. And those were the first times I was like, I think I could actually do a PhD. Then the like Africa symposium. Then after graduation, I'm thinking about the things that I enjoy doing, and I'm like, I think I could actually do this, and not just like do it. I think I would actually enjoy it, and so that's how I ended up applying to a PhD program. I had not prepared at all to be in a PhD program in undergrad, especially not one in economics. And maybe this can be like another video, but economics is the value of economics to people outside of economics, which is like politics and business, is typically one that's very math and data driven. And I don't have a strong background in math and like statistical research, which is really important to get into like the top economics PhD programs. The reason why I put in quotes is because top is relevant. I mean, top is relative. Um, top in terms of like low acceptance rates, high placements for professorships, and things like that, and very rigorous like mathematical and statistical programs and modeling. And I think the math and the statistics is important for one aspect of economics. I am much more interested in economic theory, which is also like a complicated thing, but I'm interested in like the philosophy of economics and economics as an institution within the wider culture and polity. And somehow over the history of economics, like it has deviated from that origin, but you can't do the math and the statistics without that foundation. It just doesn't make any sense and it leads to a lot of problems, which we have seen. So I'm really interested in that, specifically because I am trying to uncover like traditional economic systems and economic understanding from Africa, specifically the Igbo people. So that perspective is really important. And while I didn't have like a strong math background, I got into a program that is a lot more focused on that perspective and that approach to economics than other ones, which is very beneficial to me. It's not in any of like the top 50 programs, which again, top is relative. It is and it isn't. It's relative in terms of like depends on what you value, but it isn't in terms of like this is what people look to when they're trying to hire for certain positions. So yeah, that's how I ended up in the PhD program, and it's been going really good so far. I really enjoy like my program specifically. Like, I feel like if I went to a traditional program, I would have been frustrated and I would have been overwhelmed and I would have been annoyed. But I'm really enjoying my program and the perspective that they take. It's a bit heterodox, but I'm a heterodox ass person. So it's just like learning which spaces value the perspective that I'm coming from, and um, yeah, just like putting myself out there and learning the field because I'm very different to the very different. I'm very new to the academic field as a whole. I'm also very new to like the Africa space, like professionally as a whole. So I'm really in like a learning mode. I was in learning mode for entrepreneurship and finance, and I had really gotten to a level where it's like I know what I'm talking about, and now I'm like starting all over again. Um, I'm still young. I'm 24, but yeah. So I want to do more videos about this because there's not very many young black women in economics, and especially like an economics PhD program. I'm the only young black woman. I'm the only black woman. There's about 25 people in my cohort. I think there's about 5, 6 of us that are women, and then 4 or 5 of us that are black. All of them are African, which is like fantastic. But I'm the only one that's black and a woman. So I just want to like record more about like my experience in this field and kind of like educate people about economics, educate like my community about economics, and be that representation that I didn't have when I was younger and I didn't know there were people that did PhD programs. Um, I think it's important for people to see and to be aware of options like these and what it means to be in a program like this, because now that I'm in like academia, I'm thinking about like the impact that academia has on the world and research. Even though economies really want to be like objective, research is always contextual to the person that's doing the research and the knowledge that they have access to, the experiences that they've been exposed to. And there's a lot of research that doesn't get done because of the people who are typically in the spaces doing the research. And research informs policy, research informs people's understanding of the world. And I want to be able to contribute to research that benefits and highlights and amplifies the experiences of my background and my community, which is really important. Like, you're learning about economics. If people talk about economics whenever it comes to like black communities or Africa, it's always negative. Like, they don't talk about like positive things. It's always negative, and it's always compared against the standard of the West because the people that are doing the research are Western. So I can't necessarily fault them for that because that's their experience, that's their limited experience, that's their perspective of the world. While uninformed, it's theirs, and they're in the spaces to be able to communicate these narratives and these stories. So it's really important that people that come from different backgrounds enter these spaces to balance out the perspectives and to balance out the narratives that are being told with reality and actual like experience of the things that are being talked about. This is what people mean when they talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not just about putting people in spaces because of how they look. And I think even some people that champion it focus on that. It's more so about diversifying the types of experiences that are represented in places that have significant impact and power in the world. So I'm going to be here, talk about my experience as much as I can. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to engage with school a little bit better. My mental, just, yeah, because of my mental health, I haven't been doing the best job of engaging with school. I think this would have been very beneficial in the beginning of my fall semester because I was really engaged before my mental health just like took a toll. And I've just, it went down, and then now I've been like crawling back out. So I haven't been engaging as much as I would like to. But I think if I'm doing these videos, it would be helpful to be a bit more engaged so I could come with more stuff to the videos. But yeah, here I am, economics PhD student, hoping to change the world and change the field. I think something that is inspiring is the Director General of the World Trade Organization. She's not just a woman, she's not just a black woman, she's not just an African woman, she is Igbo. And my dad knows her brother because they grew up in the same town. Like, oh, it's just like I know I'm on here to like be a representation to people, but just to see her in that position is so like heartwarming to me. And that she always wearing her culture. You will never see her in Western clothes. Never. Never. No. She's always wearing her culture. I don't want to say like traditional clothes because I don't want to make that dichotomy, but she's always representing her culture and what she wears. And I'm trying to get like there. I can talk about this in other videos, but like the ways in which I'm trying to represent like African heritage and African culture and African ways of life in my life. I'm trying to be like, I'm trying to, everything that I own, like everything that I wear, I want it to be African in one way or another. I want my house to be set up in like traditional African like ways. I want the way that I like structure my day as much as I can living in a Western society. I want to be able to imbue my life with the lived experience of being African. I want to consume more African media, like, and I want to read more African stories. I want to learn about African philosophies and worldviews and things like that. So, as intentional as I can be with the current state of my mental health, I was doing these things before my mental health got really bad. So, I kind of have some system set in place in terms of like content. But as intentional as I can be, I'm going to try to be really intentional about these things. And I think like documenting that journey will be helpful for me as well because it helps me stay accountable. Because then I have things to talk about. Um, Yeah. Some of my research interests are, well, I also need to figure out like a good length for these videos because as you can see, I like to talk. So I don't know if people are gonna sit down and listen to me talk 35 minutes. Maybe. I really do want to keep these to 10 or 15 minutes so people are more likely to talk, but I just have a lot to say. Sorry, my back is hurting. Some of my research interests, obviously like related to African economics, but just like I have a list, but I'm trying to like describe it in a way that people who are not in economics would understand. I'll also do like educational videos as well, just like teaching people about economics. But okay. So obviously I'm interested in African economics, African economies, African ways of understanding like the purpose of economics. I'm really interested in um, entrepreneurship, the diaspora, and like the institutions that can facilitate um, partnerships between the diaspora and the continent, just because we have a lot of resources living in the diaspora in terms of like things that we have access to, especially me coming from like a top 10 like institution and like the types of training that you get, the types of people that you meet, the types of companies that you end up going to work at, and like the networks that you create. You learn a lot and you build a lot of skills that are very beneficial for people who live back on the continent. So, like, how can we increase the connections that are happening there, and like what needs to happen for more diasporans to to have the experience that I had, to go from simple cultural engagement to actual like economic and political engagement with their culture. That's like something that's really important for me that I want to research. Yeah, and just like general things around, yeah, this the current state of like African economy. So like governance systems, informal markets, um, culture and economics, community based economics. I'm also interested in like, because I learned a lot about entrepreneurship, I genuinely think like entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking and training transforms societies, like transforms them, like absolutely. And I'm interested in like how like people can build sustainable entrepreneurial systems within unstable political environments, because one of the reasons why America has been really successful in entrepreneurship is because they have a really generally a pretty stable political environment, at least for those who are allowed to have stable political environments, if you catch my drift. And so like stable internal politics, generally speaking and relatively speaking, but also like stable international politics, or like just like good, they have power in the international space, which allows them to be able to give their citizens the ability to do entrepreneurship, to be innovative and things like that. And it entrepreneurship leads to transformation in societies. But I'm curious to know, because like the current state of politics in Africa is extremely like extremely complex and can be very dangerous like at times. I want to know like how can people still engage with this powerful system of entrepreneurship within a context that is within a political context that just feels very unstable and that it feels like it's not working like for their benefit. Is there a way to do that? Like I'm really interested in that. And um is there anything else? Yeah, I think those are yeah, the major things. Um yeah, so stay tuned. I'm gonna try and like record just my journey and like the things I'm learning, what I'm thinking about when it comes to research. I also want my research journey to be public, because academia can be very closed off, and not can be, it is very gatekeep. It is very gate kept. So you only know about like things that are happening in academia if you're in academia. Um, and these things literally affect the world that we live in without it just realizing it, like the systems that we exist in. So I want to make it more public so people can learn more, so people can be more educated, so that they can just be informed, and hopefully so that I can inspire more people to get involved with their culture beyond just cultural engagement. Um, yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to remember to make this public when it finishes uploading. But yeah, my name is Ure. Publicly, I go by Urena Chimso. You can call me Ure. You can call me Urena. You can call me Chimso. Chimso is half of my middle name. I am 24 years old and I'm an economist. I'm in my first year of my economics PhD program, and I'm interested in doing economic research as it relates to the African continent and their people, including those in the diaspora. Very interested in entrepreneurship. Um, yes, primarily entrepreneurship and also community based economics. Um, I have a background in, maybe this should have been at the beginning and not 36 minutes in, but it's okay. I have a background in entrepreneurship and finance. I'm a licensed investment advisor. I started business, financial education, and financial advisory. I studied economics, finance, and entrepreneurship in undergrad at Duke University. So, like, yeah, I'm qualified somewhat to speak on these things. Um, and yeah, I'm passionate about empowering people, and I'm really passionate about economic empowerment just because, like, it gives you so many options, so many choices, and so much freedom to genuinely like live the life that you want, but also to have impact in the world. And the people that control our lives now are doing it through economic means. And so if we want to increase our political power and our social power, you do it through economics. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. Um, of course, people that have power can corrupt, but if you want to check them, you get the power that they have as well. And in order to get there, you have to benefit other people. That's what entrepreneurship is. So I'm very optimistic about the entrepreneurial engine and what it can do for communities and for society, but also for individuals, like the type of person you become when you're an entrepreneur. I know there's like toxic entrepreneurship culture out there, but I have a different perspective. And I'm going to try and be sharing those things as well. Just, yeah, to educate people on a lot of the things that I learned while I was trying entrepreneurship, and connect it also to things I'm learning in school and the research that I'm hoping to do as well. Hopefully, we can build a platform and a community around these things and start some more discussions around them. Um, yeah, this has been a very long intro video. I talk a lot. I I'm trying to work on being more succinct, but I just have a lot to say. So we will workshop the length of these videos, but I'm excited to start this. Um, Maybe I'll start writing as well. It's like Substack or LinkedIn. We'll see. Maybe I'll start doing TikTok videos. We'll see. But yeah, this is my start of my public content journey, and I'll see y'all on the flip side.